I'm really excited to be here. It's my first time in New York, first time at QCon, and I really received really warm welcome here. I actually got a sunburn past few days, so really warm, hot welcome here. Thanks for coming. My name is Georgiy Mogelashvili. Harry, you did your best, but well, I know it's hard even for me to pronounce it correct. Anyway, I'm 10 plus years in IT overall, and for 4 past years, I work at Booking.com. And 2.5 years of that, I'm a team leader there, people manager. And today I'm going to talk with you about actually 3 things. Evolution of the team leads at Booking.com, what we had, what we then had after that, and what we end up having today. Then I will make a stop and talk about autonomy, autonomous teams, and how that's working. Is it good, is it bad, and what was it for us? And then we switch to the servant leadership concept, what we are adopting at this very moment. Before we proceed, I usually ask people, do you know what Booking.com is? Please raise your hand. Yes. All right. Many of you. Did you use our website for your travels at least once? All right, cool. But does anyone know where and when the company was founded? Anyone? Anyone? 1, 2, yeah. Any guesses? Where and when the company was founded? Anyone? Yes? Anyone else? All right.
University of Exeter.
Sorry?
University of Exeter.
Maybe, I'm not sure, but I think it's Amsterdam actually. And indeed, the company was started in 1996, almost 22 years ago, by a guy in, I think he was based in Amsterdam, not in Amsterdam, but probably, it's Netherlands anyway. And back then, he was the only person working there, and the website looked like that. Well, there is nothing in common between the old version of Booking.com and the modern version I've shown you before, except maybe the index.pl. We still use Perl 22 years later. This is our main technology to write backend code there. Anyway, while time has passed, we were growing slightly from 8 people in 2000, then almost 6,000 employees across the globe in 2014, and now we have almost more than 15,000 people working for Booking.com worldwide. We have offices in most of our countries, and IT staff is 1,500, more than 1,500 nowadays. And actually, this growth was happening recent time, because if you look at the stats in the IT, more than 50% people work there less than 1 year. So we hired a lot of new talented people to work for us. But let's jump back to 2014 when I joined the company. We had only one office where all developers were sitting together. It was based in Amsterdam. We had 500 people working in IT, and we were serving 600,000 room nights bookings every single day, which is kind of impressive. The team composition back then was standard, I think, common agile team with a team leader, with a product owner, and with 5, 6 different roles of core contributors, either developers, back-end or front-end, designers, maybe copywriters. So depending on the team, this composition might change, but it was a small agile team working on a single product or piece of the product. And we were always flat. So teams were formed into tracks, which was managed by senior team lead and senior product owner, and they reported to CTOs and product owners. What is the role of team leader and product owner was back then? Oh, product owner is simple. It's the person who is responsible for the product, for the prioritization of features, for talking to stakeholders, for making sure that the team brings value to the company, and all these things. Team leader, on the other hand, is responsible for organizing processes, facilitation of team meetings, events, and so on, external communication to remove impediments with other teams, and also caring about people, and core contribution. So meaning that if you are a developer and a team lead, you write code. If you are a designer and a team lead, you produce some designs. And the typical day was like that. So team leaders spend most of the time doing craft, doing core contribution, and then small portions of making sure that people are growing and team performance. Moving forward to 2015, 2016, that's the time when we started to grow tremendously. That's the time when we had decided that, okay, in order to make the product move faster, we need to hire more people to actually enable us to develop new features, new products, and all these things. We grew from 1 office to 5 offices, and now it's even counting. We had 1,000 people working in IT, so we almost doubled our amounts in staffing. And we start making 1 million room nights reservations daily, which is really impressive. So with that growth, the question comes, how do we make sure that people who will join us, plus those people who are already working with us, be motivated doing things we want them to do? Where does this motivation come? Because if you introduce a lot of changes, this is a bit tricky question. So we did the research, and we discovered that if we give our people autonomy, mastery, and purpose, those 3 simple things, this may boost their motivation and engagement with the company. And by autonomy means that people will have more freedom to do stuff they want to do. Ensuring that mastery exists, meaning that they can develop their own hard skills and also soft skills to be even better. And when people have their purpose to work, if they understand why they're working with the team, why they're working for the company, this will boost their motivation, this will boost their engagement, and they will do their best to actually fulfill the company needs and company goals. But how to do that? If we look back into how the company evolved and how the website from 1996 changed to what we have right now, it was not the revolution process. It was always small steps innovation. Everything we do on our website is actually small experimentation, A/B testing, all over the place. I think daily we run like 1,000 different experiments on our website. And this is in our DNA. Experimenting with things is something we do every time. So we decided to do the same with motivation and engagement and the approach, how do we want to manage our teams. And we came up with the approach called autonomous teams. Autonomous team is an experiment and the concept which actually means that we will remove team leaders from the teams. There will be no longer role of team leader within this unit. We will keep product owners, of course, because they are still have to be responsible for the product. And since it's an experiment, we will introduce this only for several teams in the company so that we can make decisions later. So in order to measure the effect of the change, we came up with a kind of scientific approach to that. We formed the group with the change, so we had 26 autonomous teams, either newly formed around the new product or transformed from already existing teams which had a team lead into being autonomous. And we had 54 more teams with team leaders as a control group. And we were launching survey to them, asking the questions about, are they motivated? Are they engaged? Do you feel comfortable working in such an environment? Do you feel empowered, and so on? The questions, if you Google for Google research perfect team, those are the questions we were using mostly. We adopted that from them. And based on this survey, we wanted to see if there is any change in productivity, if there is any change in engagement, if there is any change in people feelings about how they work and how they want to work. So how does the autonomous team look like, actually? What is the change? So if you imagine the old team, core contributors reporting to the team leader and working with the product owner, this approach changed into something like that. We removed team leaders, we kept the product owners, and the whole purpose of this change was to enable connections between team members so that they can interact daily on different topics. It's basically redistribution of responsibilities from a single person to everyone. It's hard, of course, and I think it's just impossible to do this change in one day. We cannot just simply say, hey, you're an autonomous team, this team leader go somewhere else, deal with it. Well, if you tell me that, I will probably be pissed off, really. No, we have to do this gradually. We had to educate people how to actually work as an autonomous team. For that reason, we came up with the couple of activities, and one of them was a bootcamp. Bootcamp was a training, 2 days long training / team building activity, which was focused actually on things which people did not consider doing before. Communication, feedback giving and receiving, soft skills like coaching maybe, something like that. Also, people were get together to know, and I think Heidi in the previous talk mentioned that, like what are our interests, how do we want to work together, team agreements, what are we going to do as a team in the future. And the important outcome was that, first of all, team agreements and the purpose of the team and the vision of the team. For example, that's what we came up with my team when we switched to autonomous. That's the intended to be a Swiss Army knife, but we called it a shrimp. So our team was doing the post-booking experience for our customers, and we were the purpose of the team we agreed on was to become the Swiss Army knife to those who made the reservation to actually fulfill all their needs from the moment they book until the moment they stay. We had even a poem about it, but I just cannot remember how it was. Anyway, training helped teams to initially set up, to initially understand who are those people working together, what is the purpose of them working together. Second thing to help team transform from the old-fashioned team leader team into the autonomous was Kickstarters. Kickstarter is a person. Usually that's an ex-team leader or somebody who is experienced in facilitating and coaching. And the responsibility of this person was to make sure that the newly formed autonomous team is actually autonomous. What it means that this person joins the team for a while, for maybe 2 or 3 months, and just makes sure that all those agreements are in place, that the team is moving in the right direction, and that there is still autonomy is built, that people share their responsibility and they work together as intended. Then if everything is okay, Kickstarter moves to the different team and helps another one to actually move through this autonomous process. Pretty simple, right? It sounds okay, like you now become autonomous and that should work. However, if we talk about like how to build products, that's pretty straightforward. Yes, you still are a group of engineers, you know what to do, you build your product. But what about things which are somewhat different? What are the things which team lead used to do? For example, conflict solving. Imagine this situation. I'm a team leader, for example, and there is John and there is Mary. And John swears a lot like a sailor, and Mary doesn't like it. But because she doesn't like it, she doesn't want to approach him to address this problem. She approaches me, says, hey, Georgiy, John swears a lot. I don't have enough courage to actually talk to him. Can you do something with that? At the same time, John can approach me and say, I want to work with Mary. I submitted a ticket for her, but she doesn't reply. What's going on? What the hell is going on? Me, as a team lead, I know this kind of situation. I know what's happening. I know what's going on. And I can give my feedback to John saying, hey, John, please calm down. Be more polite. We're all professionals here. There are people who doesn't like you talking like that. And hopefully he understands and changes that. At the same time, I can talk to Mary and say, hey, actually John is a really nice person. He likes puppies. Yes, he swears he has an issue, but we've talked together and that's all right. And then, your role, my role as a team lead was actually, my job was done. Yeah, I solved this conflict. But what happens when you don't have a team leader, but don't have this mediation person who can help with that? Well, funny enough and obviously enough, well, maybe not that obvious. Anyway, if we you can solve this all together. What we did in our team, we set up, as part of our agreements, we set up the bi-weekly retrospective meetings, focused not only on, and just not on the product we're building, but on the team we are working in, on the people around. So retrospectives, checking how the autonomy is going on. And during one of those meetings, our designer, she's from Argentina, she raised one issue. The team consists, at that time the team was formed from her being Argentinian and 3 other guys being Russian. And of course we were talking Russian all the time because it's easier for us to communicate in the native language. And she had an issue with that, but she didn't tell us until some time. And during one of the retrospectives, she brought up this thing. You know, guys, you are talking Russian a bit too much. I feel excluded from your conversations. Please, can you make sure that in future you will switch to English if it's something important or if you think that something might be interesting to me. And it worked. We understood that, hey, yes, this is something what happens. We will change, and next time we were having conversation in Russian, we switched to English pretty fast because we remembered that Kishan doesn't like that and wants to be included in our talk. Of course, it's possible only in the safe environment when people trust each other, and that's actually what we had in that team. Another example of when the situation with a team leader and without team leader can be critical. Imagine the giving and receiving feedback, and what's more important, the performance evaluation. At Booking, we have quarterly performance evaluations where team leader was supposed to score their developers based on the 5-grade scale, depending how they are performing and what are they doing, if they're meeting expectations, if they're above, or if they're below. And it was totally fine when the team leader does that, because that's the person who's responsible for that. That's actually his job. But what to do when you are gone autonomous and when you don't have a team leader in your team? Well, in this case, what we decided to do is actually to do the same thing again, together as a group. So imagine a situation, somebody came up saying, hey, we have to do this performance evaluation thing. Let's sit together in the room and discuss this and all together give scores to each other. Awesome, right? No, no. I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, those people are going to score me. What if I did something wrong? What if I what if I score myself higher than they do? Or what if, I was really, to them I was like, yes, of course, it's a great idea, let's do that because we are the team, we are all super autonomous, let's do that. Inside I was like, shit, ooh, no. And it was really scary. It was really, really, really scary. Especially we had a case when there was a guy who scored himself as really above expectations, but the rest of the team scored him as a below. So there is a huge gap of 2 scores in between his reality and our reality. And I was afraid of that because I know that this is a potential conflict happening. If we're going to discuss this publicly and him wanting to be scored higher and the rest of the team will score him lower, he might then be really offensive to us, or he might think that we don't like him. But in fact, we had the feedback to him, and we shared that feedback. And after the round of everybody in the team shared mostly the same feedback, that his communication style was a bit off, that he was too pushy, he was too directive when discussing some team things. What happened is that he said, you know what, I hear you and I acknowledge your feedback and thanks for that. I will work on, and I agree to this, that's important. He agreed, and he really accepted the score, the lower score. And then during the next quarter, what happened is that, first of all, he understood that the feedback is not just subjective thing, it's coming from all the team members, so it's something, it probably means something. Second, the whole team understood that there is an issue with this person, which we could help him to overcome. So over the next quarter, we were working with him, and as soon as something happens, as he was like too direct during the team meeting or too pushy to some person, we were immediately sending him feedback. Hey, you know, you're doing it again. Please, that's what we were talking about last time. Try to change it. And next quarter it improved. Next quarter he was scored 3. He scored himself a missed expectation. We scored himself a missed expectation, and that means that he could overcome this issue easily with our help. Magic, right? Everybody should switch to autonomous teams. Everything will work perfectly. Just go there and you'll be awesome. Not really. Doesn't work like that, because our team was really nice. Our team was formed of professionals, and our team was stable in a way that we could perform well. However, there were a few problems with that. First of all, teams are constantly changing at Booking.com. Again, referring to what Heidi was talking about, and the Tuckmans model. If we look into the Tuckman stages of forming, storming, norming, performing, I'm not going to cover this again, but when you introduce a new person to the team, actually, first of all, every team would like to be in this performing stage. That means that people know each other well, people know what to do, they know what to expect from each other, and they're just driving product as crazy. However, when you introduce a change to the team, the somewhat stable team can be like this, or that, or this, or even that. Every new team member coming to the team will disrupt its stability, and it will bring back one step back on the Tuckmans model, or even 2 steps back. From performing team, from really awesome set of people working together as a single organism, you can just be thrown back to this storming phase where everybody hates each other and everybody just wants to understand what they are, who they are, how to work together. So this constant change happens at Booking often because we encourage people to change teams. That's part of our culture. We think that if you go and work into different areas of the website, of the product, you'll be more experienced. You can bring your past knowledge to the new team. You can share that. Also, you can learn from your colleagues about the new topic, and then everybody will become better. So on average, we change people in the team within a year, roughly. So imagine with these often changes, we couldn't keep the team stability on a high level. The second problem we faced was people growth without support. When you have a team leader in the team, that's his or her responsibility to actually help their people grow, and either personally or on the career path. When we remove team leaders, who should I, as a developer, for example, go and talk to about my growth? Who will be my coach? Who will be my mentor? And that means that it's my responsibility, of course, to make sure I'm growing, but you just removed one helper from that. It's now only me who should go and reach out to mentors or to some other developers or something like that. It was hard. And of course, you could go to the senior team lead, the one who was above all those autonomous teams. But this leading to another problem. Those senior team leads get really overwhelmed. Imagine the old organization when the senior team lead managed 5 team leaders and they managed 5 team members. If we remove that layer of 5 team leaders, all those 25 people will report to one single person, making this almost impossible for the STLs to actually work, apart from just doing paperwork. But those 3 things are minors, and they could be overcome, I think, if we didn't have the other problem. Engagement dropped. The thing which we were focusing on, the thing we wanted to increase, the thing we wanted to actually bring to the organization with this autonomous team, so empowerment, engagement, enthusiasm. The survey results showed us that it didn't work that well. In some teams it dropped, in some teams it didn't change. Some teams actually were really nice, as I was describing my one. But we couldn't scale the autonomous concept on the entire organization because of that. Because if you don't take into consideration that some teams were affected in a negative way, and you scale it up on the whole organization, then the proportion of those affected teams will just become even higher, and then the whole thing will ruin the company from the inside. So we needed to change that. And in 2017, we decided, okay, let's stop the experiment of having autonomous teams, but we have learnings from this, and we can adopt this autonomy somewhat different. And what we came up with was the servant leadership concept. It's actually the team leader plus autonomy equals love and servant leadership. If we go to the Wikipedia and look for servant leader, that's the person who shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. The other quote is, distancing oneself from using power, influence, and position to serve self, and instead gravitating to a position where these instruments are used to empower, enable, encourage those who are within one's circle of influence. So we changed the leadership, the management concept from being the boss, being the person who takes care of everything in the team, into the person who has those powers, but distributes them onto their people and actually empowering them to do more. What it means that if I had this situation before with team leads, such thing with autonomous teams, what changes now is actually that. It's pretty much autonomous team. There is a team leader there. Yes, he has a different color. That's a bit a different person. But in the end, in a nutshell, this team leader, it's an equal member of the team. So instead of now telling what to do or actually doing everything themselves, team leaders were focusing on making sure that the autonomy within the team still evolves and grows. It's basically having the Kickstarter, which I was talking before, constantly within the team, plus some, of course, some paperwork responsibilities there. And the daily time team leader, servant leader spends within the team switched from more contribution into the people growth. And by people growth here, I mean not only just coaching and really growing them, but also ensuring that people are growing and ensuring that people share responsibilities, making sure that they do something different. That's to compare how it was and how it became. I think the main difference and the main key thing within servant leadership is actually adaptability. If we refer again to the Tuckmans Model and talk about the team which is just formed, your role as a team leader, as a servant leader, to really step forward and say and lead your people behind and say, hey, this is the direction we're going to go. That's what we are going to work on. Do some arrangements. Do more things to organize the team in the way it is required. Conflict solving, because teams is getting into storming phase. You will be really much more involved into that process. But when the team moved to the performing stage, you can just step back and let them work, let them do their stuff. And you can just even go off the stage and watch how they perform. You can code in this time, you can do whatever you are interested in. And your contribution as a team leader will go down. But then, if the new person comes to your team, if there is a disturbance, if the team requires more attention from you as a leader, you step forward, you lead them, you do some sort of retrospective or anything else in order to make sure that people, again, work together in the right way. And that's what adaptability is about. Another thing in building autonomy is actually gaining trust, providing choice, distribute responsibility, and give opportunities to people. This picture with a dog, it's stuck in the fence. It's a poor animal. And there are two options which I can do as a person. I can either pull it from the fence and then next time it's stuck again, it will wait until I come back and pull it again. Or I can just stay there and say, hey, silly, what did you do? Why are you stuck there? Please, come on, come out. Of course, it will try to come out. Probably it will first wait until your help. But then after a time, it will realize that you are just not going to help, and it will try to get out there itself. And that's how it learns. And next time, it will either not going to stuck there, or will know how to get out of there quicker. It's actually, instead of telling them what to do, instead of telling your people what they should do, it's actually providing and building the environment when they learn how to do things themselves and they know what they should do. And you can do this by simply delegating most of your things. For example, if you want to do the retrospective meeting, it doesn't have to be you who facilitates it. You can pick one in the team who is willing to learn these techniques and say, hey, please, next time you run this meeting, if you like to. And then you offload this responsibility from you into the team. Again, if we talk about performance evaluation, for example, even though there is a team leader in the team again, but we continued with my team to do this as a group activity. Still, I was there present, so they were scoring me as their manager itself. And I was scoring them as a normal team member. I wasn't like a sort of authority, and my voice was not the ultimate one. We were again sitting there in the room discussing the feedback, exchanging our opinions, and making sure that we as a group can do best in order to do this performance thing, which is really sensitive. You cannot do this in a team where people are not safe. And this is your responsibility to build this safe environment. And by doing autonomy, by providing them tools and options to achieve that, you can get into this state. One more thing, autonomy is not anarchy. It doesn't mean that if the team is autonomous, everybody can do whatever they want. It's the opposite. It's actually working together as a single entity, as a single organism towards the end goal. So that's what we are now. That's what we are having as a servant leadership concept. So best worlds of having a team leader and an autonomous team. However, we're facing another problem now, is that we are short on team leads. Those 26 autonomous teams, they had to get somebody to lead them now. And yeah, that's the problem. What we are trying to do is actually growing them inside first. What we're doing is we identify talent. So for example, my role as a team lead, I should know what my people are after, and if there is somebody who wants to become a team lead in future, that's how that's where I can work with that person towards reaching that goal. Once the talent is identified, once we find the person who can and want to become a team leader, a servant leader, we put them into the TL Bootcamp training. It's a similar 2-day activity training, but it's now not for the whole team, but for the team leaders, and we teach them how to become better leaders, how to coach, how to communicate effectively, how to receive and give feedback, all those things which are essential for them to build autonomy within their teams. And also we have Agile coach support. So if you are hesitant in doing facilitation for your meetings, you can ask for their help, and they are ready to do that, so that you can be part of the team. If let's say, brainstorming on the product, you don't want to be the person with the clock and monitoring how it goes. You want to be part of the meeting. You want to be part of that activity, and that's why Agile coach can be invited and do the whole facilitation burden for you, and you'll be part of the team. The other option to where do we get team leaders is actually we hire them. We hire them everywhere in the world. We try to chase for the right people with the right mindset and with the right background. We relocate them from everywhere, really. We have 62, I think even more nationalities in IT working in Amsterdam. So we brought people from everywhere to work there. It's hard to hire team leaders. It's relatively easy to hire developers because developers, they know how to write code, they know how to do problem solving, that's fine. But with team leaders, it's a combination of both worlds. First of all, you have to find a person who can lead people and lead them in the way we would like them to lead, not just bossy type of managers, but really leaders who would like to work together. And at the same time, we need to find people who know how to code or do design. So actually finding those people from the whole worldwide community of IT people is really hard. But we're going there. So in the end, what I want you to leave this room with is basically 3 simple things. You can and you need to change if you want to. Don't worry about things which may go wrong. Try it as an experiment. If you have many enough teams to do this as a really A/B test, do the A/B test. If you think that the current organization doesn't work, split it half by half and say, hey, now you are doing like this, and now you are doing like that. It can work for autonomous teams, for example. Because autonomy is not scary. Autonomy doesn't mean that people will just go off and do random things. It means that they will feel their responsibility for the product. They will feel that they are part of it. They can influence this. It's not like what Harry told, like it's product people tell you to do something. No, it's your altogether, like it's your mutual decision to what you are doing. You can influence that. You, as autonomous teams, of course there is a product owner, but you can negotiate as a team member. You have power for that. You have ability for this. You are autonomous in that way. And be the leader. Don't be a boss. Don't be a leader. And you can do this right now. You don't have to wait until switching to autonomous. You can do servant leadership concept right now. Just change the way you work with your teams. Don't tell them what to do. Try to encourage them to do something else. Coach them. Sometimes you can even be like, lazy boss. What I sometimes do, like, if there is any inquiry to me, I sometimes may say, hey, I don't have time to do. Can you please do this for me? And it's intentionally by me, but the person might not understand the reason, and he or she may say, oh, that my boss is lazy, I'll do it. But while doing this person gets the experience, this person knows what to do then next. And after a while, if later you can explain why did you do that, he or she will say thank you. So be the leader for your team. Don't be bosses for your team. Thank you.
That was a great talk.
Thanks.
Really well done. A little bit of acrobatics at the end. Anybody have any questions?
Hi.
Hello.
How was the performance evaluation in the other teams? Because, okay, in your team it was good, but in the other teams, because you had 24 other teams that you did the experiment.
Yeah, it didn't go really well on every team, because it really depends on how safe you are as a team. And sometimes we saw that, for example, since it's now your responsibility to give scores, people tend to give higher scores because they can agree on that. People tend to be like, hey, you scored me lower and I now hate you. So those issues, were possible. And this requires really like mediation, facilitation. That's why it couldn't be scaled up across the whole company. Yes.
So how did the product owners take to this change?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And it's actually one of the other problems which we couldn't, which stopped us from scaling it up, because product owners eventually would like to take more power. Since there is no person to balance you, they would, of course, push the team for doing things they want to do. Generally, they were pretty happy, and I wouldn't say that our product owners are really people who push for whatever they want to do. They all reasonable people. They want best for the company. And in many cases, I've seen product owners, all the product owners' decisions were challenged by the whole team. It was all discussed by team members. So it all went fine. But of course, some product owners wanted to pull it a bit more on their end. So yeah, kind of twofold thing.
You have a question?
Hey, hi.
Hello.
I had a question. Did you experience any sort of like a herd mentality sort of attitude in your autonomous teams where somebody new joins the team, but it's really, all the other folks are set in their ways of thinking, and the new person sort of feels unwelcome in that team? And if so, how did you sort of manage that?
Yeah, that is one again one of the problems with autonomous teams. When the new team is formed or it's switched to be autonomous, there is a bootcamp. So everybody agrees how to work together. They know the people. When the new person joins, it's actually team's responsibility to absorb this person, to feel that person welcomed in the team. And we couldn't afford doing bootcamps every time the team is changing. So sometimes, of course, when there is a newcomer, there might be a conflict. There might be some sort of tension between team members. And if the team was not mature enough to accept that new person, then we might have a problem of either isolation or something like that. That's one of the reasons that's one of the things which servant leader can do. When there is a new person coming in, you as a leader make sure that you either have a team dinner or something like that, so that people are actually working together better. So.
Hi, do you change the team lead role across the team members so that everybody gets a chance to be a team lead and drive so that they can also learn and grow? And also, what is the power or responsibility that is given to the team lead by the manager?
Well, team lead is actually responsible. Harry, sorry, that guy in the blue t-shirt next. Sorry. The team leader responsibility is actually it's a people manager, so it's all the paperwork is their responsibility. You cannot just easily delegate this to everybody, because sometimes, for example, if there is a change happening in the organization, team lead should know first, and then they will spread this to the team. So if you expose to those things everybody in the team, then it might be a bit not good to the whole organization. So in the end, it's like things which are related to the team entirely, you can delegate and you can redistribute to your people. Teams which are related to the whole organization, maybe, this is something which team lead holds in their hands, if that answers the question.
In both autonomous team setup and in the current setup, how did promotion to the next pay level work?
Promotion to where?
To the next pay level, or if somebody wants more pay, or?
It has nothing to do with your team leader or team. Actually, if you want to go from the core role into the senior position, you have to act as a senior for a while, and then we have this sort of promotion nomination and then the promotion committee, and your manager is actually not in this process. Your manager can nominate you, but also anyone else in the team or anyone else in the organization can nominate you. So removing team lead did not affect the promotion at all.
Is it ever okay to let your team make a mistake as a methodology of letting them grow?
Yes, mistakes are, yeah.
I mean, knowingly make a mistake.
I mean, like, everybody can make mistakes. We have really tolerance to mistakes, unless you do it twice. If you make a mistake and if you learn from it, if you don't do it, if you repeat it again, and then it will be probably an issue. But if you had a mistake once, that's okay. For example, what we have is RFO, reason for outage, documents every here and there. Once we have an outage on the website, people who were responsible for that, for the underlying issue or for the firefighting, they come up with the document describing what happened, why happened, what was the actions to mitigate this problem, what to do next, so it's not repeated again. So actually, this is the process of failing but learning, and it applies to anyone in the team and in the company.
Hi, did you have a concept of, instead of team lead, do you have the concept of having a tech lead and a dev manager? Like the dev manager takes care of career growth, and the tech lead more looks at the technical aspects and technical roadmap for the team?
We have just introduced since January tech leads, which operate on the department level. So they do not belong to the single team, but they are actually looking after the whole department in terms of the tech roadmap and how to align teams on the technical thing. And the team leader is people manager within the team. This person still contributes to the team product, but also manages their people.
Sort of along the same lines, thanks for the talk. Can you say a little bit about like how the career tracks are set up? And the question behind the question is, I've seen at our org what seems like something similar that you guys are going through, where you have team leads that are also supposed to be the best developer. So so maybe do you have separate tech paths, and then the incentive to be a team lead is you're going towards the management track?
Exactly. That's actually your answer to your own question. We have two career paths. If you are, let's say you're a developer, you can either become the team leader or the senior developer. Senior developer means that you are moving towards the technical path and you can grow to principal and so on and so forth. Team lead means that you want to have more management responsibility and then go to the grow as a senior team lead and further. And you don't have to be the strongest developer. You can be designer, you can be copywriter in order to become a team lead. It's not the best person who codes, it's the best person who works with people.
Hi, question on, so if you do Agile, do you have a Scrum Master different than? Is Team Lead Scrum Master too?
No, we don't have Scrum Masters, and the reason for that is we do Agile, yes, but every team decides how to do Agile. We do Scrum, some teams do Kanban, some teams do whatever they prefer, some teams, we even had a team, I had a team where we didn't have any process. We had just a Kanban kind of board where everybody could contribute their stories and then picked up which are prioritized by the product owner. It all depends on the team, and we don't have Scrum Masters for that reason, because it's like your decision. And if you need some person like that, your team can decide, okay, now let's let John be Scrum Master and let's Mary be whatever.
I think we have time for one last question from Ian here.
Hi, what's your advice if you step back, so you're not taking the decisions, but somebody in the team just steps in to fill that role and dominates?
If that person dominates in the team, then I think that's a good person to be promoted to the team leader, for example. Depends, of course, how they step in. If they organically became a leader, so if people support this thing, you can just let this person grow and you can move to another team, for example. Or you can let this person move to the different team and take a lead somewhere else. Unless there is a real conflict between you and him, and then you can, of course, then decide what to do in the situation. I think there is no silver bullet for that. So it depends on what you're having.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.